Hi, this is Selena and welcome to Selena's Musings. I do want to apologize in advance if I'm sniffly at all. My allergies have really been acting up, so you might get a little, throat clearing and stuff like that. That said, let's just hop right into it. So today's musing is a little different. I'm actually going to start with a little story. So once upon a time, this was back in like the 1930s, there was a man who married a wealthy woman. And he decided that he wanted to just kind of figure out a way to get her wealth without having to keep her around. And so he decided the best thing to do would be to drive her crazy so that he could have her put away and he could have all her wealth for himself. And so what he did was started moving things around the house. And when she would ask, "Hey, wasn't that over there?" he would say, "No, what you're talking about," right? One day he was kind of adjusting the lighting, which was all the lights were lit by gas then. And when she asked him about the flickering, he was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And she really started to think that she was going crazy. And it wasn't until a police officer at some point showed up and confirmed that he saw the flickering lights too, that she realized what he was doing. This movie is called Gaslight, and it was produced in 1944, I believe. And whenever you hear the term gaslighting, it's in reference to that. So I will include some information down below that kind of describes what gaslighting is more. But essentially what it is these are a set of tactics that narcissists and highly manipulative people will use to make you question your reality, to make you think that you're crazy, to make you think that concerns that you have that might be valid aren't. Right? So it's a tool that they use. And I bring this up because today what I want to talk about is mass collective gaslighting. And specifically, I want to talk about the ways in which I think Black people in America often experience massive, collective, grand scale gaslighting. All right. And, as with my last video, this is inspired in part by what I've been seeing play out with the Botham Jean case. And I know some folks are sick of hearing about it and thinking about it and all that kind of stuff, but this is just, to me, a really, really important kind of thing to process, because in my opinion, what we have here is a major miscarriage of justice, and you have a lot of people who are, in my opinion, rightfully concerned. And we have to pay attention to historical context in these matters. So let me break it down. One of the key witnesses in the case, or the trial against Amber Guyger, was a gentleman by the name of Joshua Brown. Joshua Brown was Botham Jean's neighbor, and he was a key witness. Like I said, he cried on the stand. He was very traumatized by this experience. He also happened to be a Black male, and he mentioned specifically on the stand that he was concerned for his safety. And he wasn't concerned for no reason. As a matter of fact, less than a week, I want to say like 3 days after he testified, he was actually murdered, and murdered in a very violent way. Specifically, and this is triggering, but specifically, he was shot in his mouth and his chest. Now, where I come from, getting shot in your mouth is usually meant to send a message, right? So I found it very interesting that after he testified, he happened to be shot in the mouth. You have a lot of people, especially in the Black community, including myself, who found this to be very strange, right? Amber Guyger was not only a member of the Dallas police force, but she also had a lover in the force, many friends. So many people started to think, wow, this sounds either like revenge or like maybe they're trying to shut him up, because not only was he a key witness in the criminal trial, he was set to be a key witness in the civil lawsuit that the family is bringing against the entire department for corruption. So now we're not just talking about one person's freedom on the line. We're talking about dollars and cents, big time dollars and cents, which would affect the whole department. And I want to make something clear. Yes, this is a conspiracy theory, right? But a conspiracy theory is not something imaginary, right? What is a conspiracy? A conspiracy just means that people have conspired on some grand scale to do something nefarious. That's what it means. And some conspiracies actually happen, right? Now, the theoretical part is where, yeah, we don't know. This is just a theory. But what I find really insulting is that people are acting as though folks are crazy for having this theory. Now, one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that what the Dallas Police Department is asking us to believe seems very far-fetched. What they are saying happened in the case with Joshua Brown. They're basically asking us to believe that 3 or 4 days after testifying in this very public case, he decided to engage in some major drug deal with marijuana, and 2 people from Louisiana drove 4 to 5 hours for marijuana, as though they could not have found that closer to home. And that somehow in the course of it, they got into it, and these gentlemen, or I mean, if they did it, they're not gentlemen, but these dudes shot him, killed him, and then left the marijuana in the cash. That does not really make any sense at all. So when you're asking people to make sense out of what seems to be nonsense, and you're also telling people that, hey, I know 2 + 2 might equal 4 to you, but no, we're telling you it's 5, right? Because that's how it feels to people. It feels like this doesn't add up, right? And, sure, some people may say, we don't really know. We don't really know. To me, it does seem very suspicious. I also find it very suspicious that even though he was one of the main witnesses for the prosecution, I find it strange that the defense, Amber Guyger's lawyers, wouldn't have dug into his past and wouldn't have tried to use this alleged drug dealer past against him. I just find that really weird. Okay, but let's just say that I'm tripping, that we're all tripping, that all of this is true, and that, Joshua Brown really was killed in this way. Let's just say that's true, okay? We can look at other examples of gaslighting. We have instances in which there's actual videotape evidence, and we are being asked to not believe our eyes. So, for example, where I'm from, Oakland, California, one of the most devastating, I would say, things that I've ever seen is and this is triggering again, I want to let y'all know, the murder of Oscar Grant on tape. So in this instance, it was New Year's Eve, technically New Year's Day. Everyone was coming back on our transit system from the city to get back. It's called BART. It's kind of like our subway. You had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people packed into trains watching what was going on the platform. And you had this police officer with this young black man on the ground, on his knees, with his hand behind his back. The officer was standing behind him, and he pulled out his gun and shot him in the back. This was caught on film because, again, you got hundreds of people with their smartphones on the train right there seeing this go down. So you're watching this, you're like, whoa, what? Did that just happen? And the officer, when confronted, asked us to believe that he somehow felt his life was being threatened, even though this young man was on the ground, on his knees, with his hands behind his back, and he had backup. I believe there were like 2 or 3 other officers there. Definitely he was not alone. B, you asked us to believe that you thought you were reaching for your taser instead of your actual gun, even though your taser was bright yellow, in large part, and totally shaped different, and I believe holstered on another side. Like, none of it made sense. None of it made sense at all. And at the time, I was really young and trying to make sense out of nonsense. I was like, well, I don't know, maybe he was sleep deprived, whatever. But you know what? Now I realize as I got older, it's none of that, and I was talking to one of my colleagues today, Dr. Lannon Hill, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. I feel like there's some sort of cover up. I feel like somebody's hiding something. But why would they make up a story that doesn't make sense? Like, do they think we're stupid? And his point was very profound. He was like, I don't think they think we're stupid. I think that it is intentionally agitating. By definition, and this is how I process it. I'm like, oh, you know what? That is classic gaslighting. Here you have it where we are seeing things with our own eyes. We are putting together logical things and making sense out of our reality. And folks are swooping in and telling us, no, 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 no. That's not it. I know you saw that, but that's not really what happened. What? It's crazy making. And it's intentionally crazy making. I mean, that is the purpose of gaslighting, to make you feel like you're crazy. And I gotta admit, for a very long time, it has been working on me. I have been totally going nuts trying to understand, like, why are people saying these things that clearly don't make sense? But honestly, now I feel like I get it. I feel like this is like, it's just gaslighting. It is massive collective gaslighting, which is a classic form of emotional abuse. And Black folks in America, unfortunately, have been historically, systemically, in so many ways abused. And I talked before in my last video about the many trauma responses that we show, including things like post-traumatic slave syndrome, which Dr. Joy DeGruy does a great job of breaking down. I really recommend her book. In fact, I will include a link to purchase that below. And I know folks like to say, like, oh, all that was so long ago. I've actually got feedback from folks online that I'm playing the race card, or we're playing the race card, and race is not a factor. And it's just not so. The UN produced a report in 2018 that shows that the United States of America clearly has racism embedded in the criminal justice system. It is just a fact, right? And that's not to say that other folks are not in any way receiving injustice. Absolutely, it does happen. I mean, there was a white woman from Australia in the Midwest who was shot and killed by a police officer who happened to be Black. And in that instance, he didn't get sentenced to enough time either, right? But the vast majority of folks who are getting killed by police who are unarmed are Black. That is a fact. And it is a fact that more than not, the people who kill them with what I feel are no excuse are let off with no or very little time. Meanwhile, Black people who commit nonviolent crimes are given way more time on average than their white counterparts. It's just fact. This is not opinion. These are stats that can be looked up and verified. And again, I will include that UN report down below. But I think I was just compelled to make this video because it's just so upsetting to see people be so dismissive of the folks or the concern of folks who are going through collective trauma. Because, every time this happens, every time an innocent Black life is taken by someone in a position of authority, and they're not given like the type of sentence that any other citizen would get, it is traumatic. It evokes fear in the heart. You never know. Could it be my loved one next? Could it be me next? It's scary. And then you add on top of that more trauma by the system, again, and not levying the justice. And then more trauma in the form of gaslighting when people tell you you're crazy for seeing the pattern that is clearly there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of processing this and trying to think, what is the solution to this collective gaslighting? I don't really fully know. There's clearly a lot of healing to be done. But in the meantime, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be disengaging from this this gaslighting. I've already decided, like, to the extent possible, I'm not watching these videos. I will read transcripts as I need to, but it is just a very, very upsetting thing. And I think that at this point, I'm almost at a loss for words, y'all. Like, it is just mind blowing. But at the same time, we've seen it before. So, you know, I'm going to keep chewing on this, and I do plan to do some follow-ups where we think more through, you know, what are some things that we can start to do to heal and to start to seek more collective justice. But in the meantime, I do hope that you consider contributing to the Botham Jean Foundation. I do hope that you take some time to read the resources down below. And, you know, otherwise, I'd love to hear your thoughts. You are my muses. You inspire me to share these thoughts. And I know that these last couple of videos have been very heavy. I do hope to do a little bit more of a lighthearted video soon, but this is what's on my heart. This is what the muse has brought me. So again, thank you and have a good one.